Carnosaur is a 1993 creature feature directed by Adam Simon. A down-on-his-luck security guard is the only one who can stop a mad scientist who is intent on destroying the human race by replacing them with flesh-eating dinosaurs. So the movie begins in a bad guy boardroom, and I'm already wondering, is this guy about 3 foot tall, or are those chairs just fucking massive? Either way, business bad man is talking about bad business, and bloody hell, look at this guy's chin! Christ, if that thing had a brain it'd take over the world! Then we meet evil scientist lady, who is monitoring her virus-infected chickens, who this guy is allergic to, and says, "Do excuse me while I sneeze directly in your face."
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So these fellas are on chicken pickup duty, but notice that one of them has exploded into a big egg, which is a bit of a red flag if you ask me. Especially after it hatches into something distinctly un-chicken-like and runs off to hide among the other chickens. Not thinking much of it, they load up the chickens anyway, and leave the poultry plant, which is bizarrely called Poo Rex, which paleontologists believe was the incontinent relative of the T-Rex. The chicken delivery van doesn't get far though before the driver hears a commotion in the back, so he stops to find out what's going on and is savaged by a tiny little raptor, which would be cute as hell if it wasn't so deadly. Oh, and the guy dying sounds like me trying to get to sleep every night. We then meet our protagonist, Doc, who isn't a doctor, but perhaps the worst security guard of all time, as he drunkenly chases some trespassers off the construction site, shouting, "Hold it! I got a gun! I can't shoot for shit!" But against all odds, he actually catches one of the trespassers, who turns out to be a pretty lady who calls herself Thrush, presumably after the bird, and not the yeast infection. So Doc calls the sheriff, but he's busy sorting out dead chicken man, whose corpse he gives to a pathologist named Dr. Sterling Raven. Startled by the corpse's fatal injuries, he calls his colleague, Dr. Underwhelming Raven, to tell him that it looks like they were killed by some sort of prehistoric reptile. If only there was a name for such a thing. Back to Doc, and he's going with the sheriff to the camp of environmental activists, who were the ones that broke into the construction site last night. On the way, Doc wakes up from his nap, and the sheriff says,
Probably had yourself a nice little dream too, didn't you?
"Actually, no. I was dreaming about weasels stealing my socks. It was terrifying." So they arrive and the sheriff tells the activists to stop being a bunch of dickheads, while Doc just stands there looking like the ultimate badass. 'Cause I'm a badass! Elsewhere, a bunch of beer-swigging teens hop in a car and go, "Woo! We're driving recklessly while intoxicated, woo!" Unfortunately, they narrowly avoid driving off a cliff, but don't worry because the little raptor soon shows up and is outraged by their reckless behaviour, so it gives them a good old shredding. Doc then finds Thrush on one of her isolated midnight road walks and offers her a lift, which she can't refuse because he absolutely stinks of cool. But they soon stumble upon one of the raptor's victims, who sure is milking his disembowelment, and he should really just bang a plaster on it and shut up there. Back at the bad guy boardroom, and what the fuck are you doing, sir? Sit your ass down in a chair before I fucking bray you. But his mania is interrupted when this last tells him that something has gone terribly wrong with Project Chicken.
The last thing we need is a biotech panic about chickens.
Don't know what he's worried about. I have a biotech panic about chickens every time I eat one. We then cut back to evil scientist lady, who is talking to a fella who sounds like me waking up every morning. She leads him to a room telling him it'll cheer him up, but to the surprise of sad man, there's a T-Rex in the room instead, which eats him, making him even more sad. Back to the construction site and, oh, for God's sake! All of the environmental loonies have chained themselves to the construction equipment. Doc's well and truly fed up with their shit, so he goes to the local diner. And, hey, it's that weird-looking fella. I've seen him in other movies. What's his name again? Let's have a look-see. Clint Howard, that's the fella. I'll have to remember that for next time. But while Doc is away, our janky animatronic raptor turns up to the construction site and is all like, hello, what's going on here then? And is pleasantly surprised to find that its food is unable to run away. Needless to say, it has a jolly old time ripping these idiots to shreds. Expect about getting a leg bitten off. Then Doc shows up and sees the raptor, which is like, "Yeah, what's up, Doc?" before taking off into the darkness. Doc is also relieved that Thrush is still alive, as she was hiding in the cab of one of the diggers. While she recovers, Doc goes to try and find the beast, but instead finds a van with some dead guys in it, and evil scientist lady on the radio asking if they've found the escaped raptor. So Doc thinks, right, if she's behind this, I'm going to go and give her a right telling off. So he does. He breaks into the facility and says, "Why are you making dinosaurs, you crazy lady?" And she says, "'Cause I like dinosaurs, so fuck off." And he's like, "Well, I like dinosaurs too, but you're mental, you are." Meanwhile, the sheriff, being a good husband, decides to make breakfast for his wife. But the eggs are looking a little past their use-by date. Oh, and one of them has a bloody dinosaur embryo in it. I'd take it right back to the shop saying, "Excuse me, shopkeep, but this egg you sold me contained an embryonic theropod from the Cretaceous era." What? Right, let me try this another way. There's a fucking dinosaur in me egg, mate. Oh, no way, man, a reeling? Aye. Fucking hell, give you a tenner for it. Aye, go on then. Elsewhere, Ron Eastwood is punishing his chickens for trying to run away by eating some fried chicken in front of them. But the raptor isn't happy because that one was his uncle, so he bites off Ron's head. Back to the sheriff, and he's taken the tiny dinosaur to Dr. Adequate Raven. But he can't hear what he's saying because the very rude patients in the waiting room won't stop coughing. So he says, "Shut up in there! I know half of the town's contracted a mysterious virus from eating chicken, but I'm trying to look at this tiny dinosaur! So shut up!" And believe it or not, this is where the film gets really weird. As back in the chicken lab, Doc watches as evil scientist lady tries to help her colleague, who is also suffering from the strange virus. But hang on, is she giving birth? But she wasn't pregnant. Oh my god! She just died giving birth to a dinosaur egg. Yep, evil scientist lady has engineered a chicken virus which makes women die while giving birth to dinosaur eggs, with her overall goal being for it to spread to every woman on Earth, therefore repopulating the world with flesh-eating dinosaurs. Now I bet you never thought you'd hear that when you woke up this morning. Anyway, the government have now taken notice of the epidemic and plan to quarantine the town so the virus doesn't spread. They create roadblocks too, and stop this poor fella who's trying to get help for his sick wife. So they take her away, and this moron says,
"Hey, is she gonna be alright? Well, okay, I'm gonna head back into town then, and you have Donna give me a call when she's feeling better. I'll get Annie to fill in for her when she's feeling..."
"Oh, you guys are holding me at gunpoint? Okay, that's cool. I held a mouse at gunpoint once, but it didn't understand." Elsewhere, the sheriff is fed up with this dinosaur shit, so he arms up and goes looking for the raptor, and sounds just like me playing hide and seek.
I know you're here. Come on out! I'm waiting for you! Right here! Come on!
He soon finds it though, and gives it a good old blast with Mr. Shotty, but foolishly stands over it as it's dying, and it sticks him with its big claw right before he blasts its head off. Oh well, at least he got the scaly bugger before he kicked the bucket. Back at the lab, and Doc thinks, oh no, I hope Thrush hasn't come down with the Dino Prego death virus, so he runs home to see if she's alright. But the dumbass takes a wrong turn and ends up in the T-Rex room, which chases him as he tries to find the actual way out. Oh, an evil scientist lady finds that she's infected with the virus too, but she's pretty stoked about it actually, and even rips open her abdomen with her bare hands to help the baby dinosaur come out of it. Man, that's fucked up. This film is fucked up. Doc manages to climb up a ladder and escape through a tunnel, leaving the T-Rex thinking, "Oh, that's not fair. I can't fit in there. Looks like my chase ends here. Where?" Or so you may think. But nope, the big-headed bastard just rams its way through a wall like a champion, thinking, "Hehe, you ain't getting rid of me that easily." Doc gets back home, and despite her namesake, Thrush hasn't got the infection. But then Doc looks out the window and sees the T-Rex has followed him home. So he's like, "Right, I'm sick of you, you big shit. I'm gonna give you a right old thrashing." So he hops into his trusty digger with a spiky thing on the front of it, and after a good bit of back and forth battling, he rams the bugger into extinction. So Doc returns to Thrush and all is well, because they aren't infected and... oh, the quarantine guys are here. But what are they doing? Oh no. Oh good God, no! Maybe it's not as bad as it looks? And there we have it. Carnosaur is an absolutely wild, bizarre and seriously messed up movie. Despite its wonky special effects and abundant cheese, I loved it. Carnosaur 2 is a 1995 creature feature directed by Louis Morneau. When communications with a secretive government facility goes silent, a team of engineers are sent in to fix the problem, but instead, they find the place overrun by flesh-eating dinosaurs. So the movie begins in an underground facility of some sort, and Cowboy Kevin is wandering around checking how dank it is. But he hears something lurking, and lets out a scream very indicative of the quality we can expect from this movie. Then he gets attacked by the cameraman. We're then introduced to Jesse, who looks a bit like John Connor, so I'm going to call him John Connor. So John and his mate break into somewhere they're not supposed to be and find some dynamite, with John thinking, "Yes! I can finally blow up that squirrel across the street that keeps staring at me." In the control room, these fellas are wondering where Cowboy Kevin's got to, and this fella delivers his line with the passion of a passion fruit.
Waller, that loser, he's probably jerking off.
Well, it is jerk off o'clock, so yeah, he probably is. John and his mate get busted though, as his uncle turns up and says, "John, I've told you about this before! That squirrel is too tough for dynamite! You're gonna need at least thermite to get through its armour!" And John says,
We were just trying to have a little fun.
Fun?
yes, fun! Starts in F, ends in unfun! But while his uncle goes to tell his boss he's finished for the day because he's tired as fuck, John goes to have a crack with this fella, who shows him how to use a forklift truck thingy, and warns him not to press this particular button, as it opens some doors to a 150-foot drop, which is totally not going to be used to kill the T-Rex at the end of the film. And no, I didn't just ruin the end of the movie for you, because it's clearly not going to happen. So John and his uncle go to the local diner to discuss their squirrel destruction plan, until something throws a fella through a window then starts wrecking the joint. I mean, I assume it's a dinosaur, but you don't actually see it, so as far as I'm concerned, it might just be an irate customer going, I asked for brown sauce, not ketchup, damn it! We then get introduced to our protagonist, Jack Reed, who looks like a budget Kurt Russell, so I'm going to call him Bert Tussle. Bert's an engineer, who, as you'll see throughout this movie, just does the most bafflingly bizarre things all the time. Then we're introduced to the other engineers. We've got Not Vasquez, Ham, and hey, it's the same guy who played Donkey in Carnosaur 3! But in this one his name is Monk, so obviously I'm going to call him Monkey. So the team of engineers are wondering why they've been called into work so early in the morning. Then Captain Pirate walks in and tells them that they've accepted a job from this fella, who is the equivalent of Burke from Aliens. Also, he looks like a Burke, so I'm going to call him Burke. So they all get in the chopper and head to this facility wearing the stupidest fucking headgear I have ever seen. When they arrive, Ham tries to Hudson the door open, but once they're inside, they find the place trashed. But Bert Tussle spies John Connor in the corner, and because he doesn't understand human life, he says,
What's this?
it clearly looks like a human child of some sort. Bert. They say he's in shock, but I've seen better shock from a deceased electric eel. So Bert tries to shake some sense into him, but Tussle and Captain Pirate are like, hey, leave him alone! It's not his fault he can't act. So instead, Bert tries to stop the engineers from looking at what they're fixing, which somewhat defeats the bloody purpose, doesn't it? It's like hiring an electrician to fix a faulty light, but saying, get it fixed, but don't you dare check to see if it works. Meanwhile, Tussle is trying to depress the kid into waking up, so he tells them that he had a son once, but he died. Then he proceeds to stroke the kid's cheek like a creep, before the kid once again shows off his acting talent.
Oh, God, help us.
Don't worry. I'm not gonna let nothing happen to you.
You only met the damn kid 5 minutes ago. He's still in badly acted shock. They're clearly going for a Ripley-Newt-style relationship here, but it ain't working. Tussle just comes across as a fucking weirdo. So they go deeper into the facility, presumably to find more things Burke doesn't want them to look at. But wouldn't you know it, they're about to fix shit when Burke stops them from going any further, saying it's off limits to civilians. What the fucking... Why would you even hire them then, Burke? Non-disclosure agreement! Sorted! Bell end! Also, we're now 30 minutes into the film, and we haven't even seen a dinosaur yet! What the hell is going on?
I mean, what the hell is going on?
They disregard Burke's orders and walk into the restricted area, and Tussle gets all inquisitive like,
What the hell is this place? What the hell are those?
where are we? What year is it? Who am I? They soon start hearing dinosaur noises though, right before Captain Pirate is grabbed by some wiggly knife fingers and pulled down into a hole, where he is presumably wiggly knifed to death, leaving everyone else thinking, let's get the fuck out of here! On their way out, Tussle says,
Get up the steps! Get up the steps! What the hell is going on?
we're going up the steps! Get up the steps! What's your favourite pop group from the 90s? Steps! But unfortunately for Ham, he turns around to see one of the rubber raptors towering over him. It slashes him in the face, then Ham reacts like anyone would in that situation.
Okay, it's on now.
Little does he know it's only on for the raptor, and it drags him away and makes him into a nice ham sandwich. Yes, that is the only reason I called him Ham, for that one terrible joke. You're welcome. Anyway, the kid is awake now and finds the others while the pilot lass goes to start up the chopper. But just like the pilot in Aliens, she's attacked by a raptor hiding on board and the helicopter crashes into the ground, cutting short their escape. Apparently there's 80 miles of desert in each direction, so the only thing they can do is go back into the facility.
Great. Wonderful. Shit.
So they're back inside and start grilling Burke for getting them into this mess. But Burke is such a slick and eloquent son of a bitch, he can talk his way out of anything.
Come on, do you think I would have gone down in there had I known? Jesus.
Tussle tries to come off as a tough guy, but all 5'7" of him is about as imposing as a pissed off Pomeranian. But they finally get some information out of Burke, who admits that his company kept some of the eggs that evil scientist lady in Carnosaur 1 had, and they stored them on ice in this facility. But obviously they hatched, and well, God, the whole plot makes no sense, does it? But they've got to do something, so the kid tells them about the dynamite he was going to use on the squirrel. So the team plan to blow up the facility, and the dinos along with it. Monkey Tussle head down a few levels to get the explosives, But Burke, being a dickhead, locks them in a room like Ripley and Newt with the facehugger in Aliens. Except this one doesn't have a facehugger, or anything that's a threat. And also, Monkey Tussle almost immediately managed to get the door open, which makes me wonder what was the bloody point in this scene in the first place. So they go and set the explosives, but Burke turns up and knocks out Monkey, then has a hilariously pathetic tussle with Tussle. Thankfully he's saved by a much more capable Monkey. Then they cart Burke back to the control room, who explains he doesn't want them destroying the facility because the lower levels are a stockpile of government-owned nuclear material, which would make a sizable dent in the area if exploded. Which leads Tussle to come out with one of the best delivered lines of dialogue I have ever heard.
You guys are all a bunch of sick bastards.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
You guys are all a bunch of sick bastards. Bastards.
So the kid comes up with the idea of crashing the computer system to send the facility into emergency mode, which should not only send out an automated distress call, but will also lock down the lower levels so the nukes won't go kablamo when they blow the joint up. Gotta hand it to him, that's some damn fine thinking, kid. Meanwhile, those sneaky raptors have started to figure out the trip mines keeping them at bay, so our heroes need to get a move on. So they pile in an elevator trying to get topside, but one of the raptors bursts through the ceiling and pulls out Not Vasquez. She then gets her arm bitten off and her guts pulled out, which is pretty gross, and the effects are decent, so I'll let it off. With the lift buggered, they try and go through the vents and access tunnels. Now the chase is heating up and one of the trip mines goes off, collapsing the roof and injuring Monkey. So, mirroring the scene where Vasquez and Gorman make a last stand in Aliens, Monkey and Burke do the same and blow themselves up, taking the raptors with them. But the explosion really awkwardly knocks Tussle over a ledge, because he has the balance of a pig on a unicycle. I mean, come on, he could so easily get up from that position, it's ridiculous! But then if he did, we wouldn't have got this reaction. So John Connor goes for help and finds the evacuation team up top, but this guy in orange appears to be completely deaf.
There's no time, we gotta go save Reed. What? They're dead, all dead. What? The dinosaurs! What?
The kid can't leave Tussle, so he turns back and runs inside to get him. Conveniently, he finds him pretty sharpish, so the two of them head towards the exit. But on their way out, they bump into a T-Rex! Where the hell has it been hiding this whole movie? Ah well, fuck it, it chases them into an elevator like the Queen Alien chasing Ripley and Newt. Then once they get back up top, it seems that the T-Rex has found its own way up. How? Well, how clearly doesn't matter, and after it bites off this pooer bugger's head, the kid hops in the forklift thingy and fights the T-Rex power loader style, though without any of the intensity or excitement. Oh, and wouldn't you know it, he presses the button that the guy at the beginning told him not to press, and then with the enthusiasm of a carrot, he says, "Eat this, Barney," and rams the T-Rex down into the 150-foot drop, killing it, and proving me wrong in the process. The little git. Then in the helicopter the kid detonates the explosives, destroying the facility and everything within it. Oh, and I guess he's gonna get adopted by Tussle now. The poor fucker. End of movie. Well, if you couldn't tell, Carnosaur 2 is a blatant Aliens ripoff, and while it's easily the worst of the three Carnosaur movies, it's still somewhat enjoyable, and I'd say it's definitely worth watching just for how unintentionally hilarious it is. Primal Species, or Carnosaur 3 Primal Species in the US, is a 1996 action horror movie directed by Jonathan Winfrey. When terrorists hijack a military convoy in search of plutonium, they unwittingly unleash a trio of genetically engineered dinosaurs, which a team of elite soldiers must hunt down. But soon, the hunters become the hunted. So the movie begins with a military convoy full of soldiers who look a bit too cheerful for my liking, but one of them desperately needs a piss, so his boss tells him he can go off the back of the jeep.
What a jerk, but
I beg your pardon. The soldiers in the jeep behind him look at him like, "Woo, he's pissing on the road! Oh man, what a legend!" But their urination celebration is cut short when they're attacked by terrorists, who are all dressed in black, which I think we can all agree is the appropriate camouflage for a midday ambush in a desert setting. The leader of these shits is Mr. Cool Guy Bad Guy, who casually walks over and shoots the sergeant, and the pisser! Now who's gonna keep the road moist? So the terrorists take off in the trucks saying,
"I'm taking this thing to Mexico."
But sod's law, they only get to the end of the street before they're pulled over by a cop, who was like, "Man, you look cool as fuck! License and registration, please."
Yes, of course. It's here somewhere. Ah, here it is. Right.
That's not what he asked for. Not what he asked for at all. This cool guy, bad guy is a very bad guy, but also really cool. We then see a team of elite soldiers participating in a training exercise, and we're introduced to the Colonel, who looks a bit like a budget Sylvester Stallone, so I'm going to call him Sylvester Stallion. So Stallion chastises his troops for finishing their training slower than usual, with one fella in particular getting the brunt of the criticism.
Sir, you some kind of donkey?
Sir?
I asked. Are you some kind of dumbass donkey?
I think it's safe to say that this guy's going to be known as Donkey from now on. Also, why the hell is Stallion's outfit 3 times too big for him? So then this 90s grunge band looking fella turns up and tells Stallion that the general needs to talk to him, and Stallion says,
"You're not riding in my Jeep with that haircut, son."
Which is something I hear from my dad on a weekly basis. Meanwhile, the baddies park the trucks in a warehouse at the docks, and CGBG's accent has now completely changed. So he says,
I hope this shit isn't poisonous.
Before climbing in with no protective gear whatsoever, and to his surprise, behind a plastic sheet at the back of the van isn't plutonium, but a couple of sleeping velociraptors. CGBG gets pissed off with the lack of nuclear material and shouts very loudly in the face of the Carnosaurs because it's all their fault!
Oh, damn it, no! No!
Then, before you can say, the raptors eat everybody, the raptors eat everybody. Which is a big negative for them. Meanwhile, Stallion is having a good crack with the general, who tells him they need to reacquire the shit that was stolen by the terrorists, but for some reason refuses to tell him that it's dinosaurs, because that would clearly be useful to know. Back to the docks, and some cops turn up to find this clearly injured looking fella, so they arrest him, as you would. Oh, and if you look very carefully, you can see the reflection of the film crew in the car window. Ha ha ha! Got ya! I had a feeling this was a movie. So they put the guy in the back of the car, and he looks quite a lot like Chris O'Donnell, or more like Chris O'Don... Now, Stallion and his team are en route, but the cops are eager to sort this out themselves. Inside the warehouse, it looks like someone's had a jolly old time with Jack the Ripper, and the cops hear something growling inside the big van. Being a bunch of bonkers bellends, they open it and get eaten by a T-Rex. Seriously, they were transporting a T-Rex in that little van? Yeah, I'd be pissed off and all if I was in its shoes. It's massive fucking shoes. So, Team Stallion turn up and they find an even bigger mess than before, and Donkey looks at this severed head on the floor and says,
How's it going?
Actually, I'm not having the best ideas, to be honest, Paul. Then they use an Alien-style motion tracker which leads them into the storage part of the warehouse, where Donkey gets surprised by a corpse.
You just shot yourself a dead man.
Yeah, but I shot the shit out of him.
Oh, Donkey, you, sir, are a hoot, an absolute hoot. He then gets hit by some falling boxes, which got a good chuckle out of me.
Why don't you try shock treatment? That might help.
It might.
But while they're trying to unstuck Donkey, a couple of soldiers get savaged by the scaly SOBs, which forces the team to retreat. Stallion gives the general a piece of his mind for dropping them in the proverbial shit, and also meets the beautiful Dr. Lady, who sheds some more light on their current dino problem. So the team now get a proper briefing, which they should have bloody had to begin with, but it's nice to see some characters in a film thinking the same thing as me for once. Then we get one of my favourite lines of dialogue in the movie.
We're an anti-terrorist unit. We weren't trained to hunt these mega dinosaurs. Why not just call in a crack platoon of weekend warriors?
Yeah, because I know as a fact that on the weekend they do hunt dinosaurs. I've seen them.
So now that they know what they're up against, off they go again to find and subdue the beasts. Then Sanders and Donkey come out with what we're all thinking.
I can't believe we're hunting dinosaurs. Yeah, that is a little weird, isn't it?
And Dr. Lady described these as nearly fast as a cheetah. Yeah, a cheetah with no legs, maybe. Oh man, these raptors are more rubbery than rubbing a rubber duck while wearing a rubber johnny. After a brief skirmish, our lot meet up with some more soldiers who General Sod sent as backup. So they regroup and Donkey's chatting shit about women to Sanders, and reacts like every man does when he gets caught out.
So, I hear you have problems taking orders from women.
No! No.
No, I bet you don't.
So the hot marine chick challenges Donkey to an arm wrestle. Donkey struggles, but eventually wins and tells Sanders that she was as strong as a Viking. But the funniest part is...
You didn't catch it, did you?
What?
Look, she's left-handed.
Whoa!
That's just brilliant. Then Stallion bursts in to put a stop to their fun, and Donkey convinces me that the comedy in this film is actually quite good.
What the hell is going on here?
Sir, Sanders was just messing around arm wrestling again, sir.
So they set up a trap for the dinos using a horse head they got from Don Corleone as bait. Send me the biggest horse head you have. No, that's too big. But one of the sneaky raptors grabs Donkey from behind and drags him away, but Stallion saves him by blasting the Barney bastard to Kingdom Come. So they don't get a live one to take back, but at least that's one less beastie to worry about. Or so they think. Back Back at base camp, Dr. Lady isn't too happy that they've killed one, and asks that they make sure to capture the remaining 2.
So you expect us to go out there and capture these things alive? Sorry, sir.
To make matters worse, she tells them that the T-Rex has laid a nest of eggs in the ship on the dock, so if they don't stop it soon, there'll be a shitload of dinosaurs to worry about. But while she's explaining all this, the dead raptor unexpectedly regenerates from its wounds and springs back to life, causing chaos in the tent. Then the T-Rex bursts in through the top and bites one of the soldiers' heads off. To the untrained ear, the T-Rex might sound like me after bashing my head on a shelf, but it's actually singing basement jacks. After the chaos, everyone agrees that the best plan is to sail the ship out to sea to get the dinosaurs away from the civilian population, and use the ship's supply of coolant used for food transportation to freeze the beasties because they're cold-blooded. So they load up and head out on the ship, and once again Donkey makes me laugh my ass off.
You remind me of somebody.
Yeah?
Get the fuck out of here. Hello.
Now they're looking for the dinos, but unfortunately for Sanders, one of them finds him first and gives his face a good old chew. The soldier with him tries his best to fight off the raptors, but they end up double teaming him. Steady on. Stallion, Donkey and Hot Chick then get in an elevator to the lower levels where the Rex nest is, but one of the clever raptors is above them, numbing on the cables. Man, I love a good elevator bit in a film. Really tickles my tackle, it does. That and caramel. So the lift crashes to the bottom and they stumble into the Rex nest. But Donkey and Hot Chick fancy a bit of revenge for their fallen allies and begin to shoot the eggs, much to Stallion's dismay. Needless to say, Big Mammy Rex ain't too happy about this and bites off Donkey's arm before eating the rest of him. I'm actually a bit gutted Donkey died, but at least he gets to hang out in heaven with Sanders. R.I.P. fellas. So things aren't exactly going well, so they change the plan and decide to blow up the ship and the dinos with it. So off they go to set the explosives, but the T-Rex bursts through the ceiling and gobbles up one of the soldiers, before Hot Chick gets her head twisted off by one of the raptors, which is really fucking hot. I mean, really fucking sucks. It's just Stallion and Dr. Lady now who get cornered by the T-Rex, the wide shots of which are clearly just a toy dinosaur, which make it even better. So quick-thinking Stallion pops the last of the C4 in the Rex's mouth and blows its head clean off. And you can even see the pole holding the T-Rex model in place. I mean, they don't even bother hiding it, but honestly, who's gonna care? The C4 going off starts the countdowns for the other explosives, so Stallion and Dr. Lady make a mad dash to get off the ship, and the effects of the ship exploding are ludicrously bad. But they jump off at the last second and survive. Then in the water they realise they love each other, then they go home, get married, have babies and live happily ever after. Oh, and Chris O'Donnell, he's still sat in the back of the bloody police car. Oh, and legend has it he's still there to this day. Well, you know what? As stupid as it is and as terrible as the special effects are, I actually ended up unironically enjoying this movie. I think it's got a lot of heart for what it is. It's a ton of fun and has some genuinely funny dialogue. You might need to get a few beers in you to enjoy it as much as I did, but I'd have no problems recommending this to watch with your mates. You'll have a proper good laugh, one way or another. Raptor is a 2001 creature feature directed by Jay Andrews. A small-town sheriff's investigation into recent fatal animal attacks takes an unexpected turn when all the evidence points towards the culprit being a dinosaur. And just so you know, there will be full spoilers ahead, but if that doesn't bother you, then grab your pink grapefruit-flavoured popcorn and whip out your Eric Roberts-faced plastic dinosaur as we dive into Raptor. Oh, but before we do, I should probably let you know that this film is quite literally scenes from the original Carnosaur trilogy, just lifted out and edited into this one in between some new original drama bits. Aye, it's as balmy as it sounds. So here we go. So the movie begins with a full scene lifted from the original Carnosaur, namely the bit where some teens are drink driving and are soon to be shredded by a tiny raptor. But anyway, one of them gets out of the car to take a piss, but something attacks him and his bloodied face looks through the window like, "Ew, you guys are copping off in the Jeep while I'm outside? That's just rude." Then we're introduced to our protagonist, played by Eric Roberts. Man, he's been in some shite, hasn't he? I'm going to call him E-Rob. Anyway, he's the sheriff and he meets up with this guy who actually played the sheriff in Carnosaur 1, and they found the teen's car all covered in blood. So E-Rob touches it and says,
"Blood in more than 4 or 5 hours old.
6 at a push. Go up to 7 and you're losing it. 8 and you're way off." He opens a body bag to look at one of the victims and says,
"Oh boy."
"No, that's the girl." "Well, I can't tell from a bag of gore, can I? Looks like spaghetti bolognese with eyes." Then this lady turns up who is some kind of animal expert, so I'm going to call her Annie Milady. She has a look in the car window and is all like, "Oh, Jesus! Oh, God! Oh!" Then they discuss what could have done this, and E-Rob says,
"What about a cougar?"
"Why would a middle-aged woman looking for a younger fella do this? That was a stupid suggestion, E-Rob. Sorry." Well, gentlemen, I have concluded that the only reasonable culprit is A dinosaur. Oh, dinosaur's a good one. Oh, you're serious? Then we're at some sort of science facility and we meet this Ed Harris wannabe, who I'm going to call Christoph. He's been breeding dinosaurs, you see, because he's the baddie, yeah. And he's chastising his team because they let one escape. You, leather jacket, how could you let this happen?
Sir, I can't be in 3 places at one time.
Then you're useless. Fetch me someone who can or I'll feed Mr. Suspenders over there to my T-Rex. What? Why me? Because Suspenders looks stupid, that's why. And also, where the hell is my delivery of chickens? How the hell should I know? I'm just watching the movie. Then we see a chicken delivery van leaving the depot to deliver some chickens to Christoph. Then we get another scene lifted from Carnosaur 1 where the chicken van driver gets killed by the tiny raptor. But this time a police officer finds the van soon after and says, "Why is this chicken van by the side of the road, eh? And why are the chickens all dead, eh? And where's the driver at? Eh?" So he gives E-Rob a call and I can see a boom mic. So he tells him about the van and E-Rob says he'll come and check it out. So he says bye to his daughter, who is also the receptionist. Nepotism much. Then he heads out. But the deputy gets attacked and killed by the Lao Raptor. Using footage from Carnosaur 1 again, of course. Then we cut to E-Rob's daughter shagging her boyfriend in the back of his truck. I kid you not, this sex scene goes on for 7.5 minutes. It's absolutely bloody ridiculous. The only other notable thing about it is her really fake boobs, which I can't show you for obvious reasons, but believe me, they're as round as celestial bodies. So once they're done, her boyfriend is attacked off screen by our resident raptor, so she drives off with the beastie clinging to the truck, but somehow manages to fall out the door and down a hill while the truck drives itself off a bridge and explodes, which I'm sorry to say is the #1 cause of death for trucks. That and AIDS. Elsewhere, E-Rob and Annie arrive at the chicken van, but can't find the deputy because he's dead. So they have a look at the delivery manifest and it says, "Please deliver these chickens to Christoph at the science lab so he can make more dinosaurs." Oh, well that's fairly straightforward then, isn't it? See, I told you it was dinosaurs. So you did.
I owe you a Coke.
But then E-Rob gets a call on his radio to say that his daughter's been in a really stupid accident, so they both head to the hospital. "How's she doing, doctor?" "She's going to be okay, but dem fake chebs are going to remain awful and you should feel ashamed of yourself for letting her get them." "Oh, thanks, Doc, for that professional opinion." Back to Christoph and his assistant walks over and says,
"Are you okay, sir?"
"No, I think Truman's onto us. But anyway, any news on the dinosaur?" "Oh, Mr. Suspenders, I can see you bloody peeking!"
"You're worse than a cat."
"What do you want?" "I need tomorrow off work." "Why?" "It's my birthday." "Oh, it's your birthday, is it? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. I'll give you tomorrow off if you go down into the basement, walk up to the T-Rex and make fun of its stupid little arms." "But sir, it'll eat me." "No, it won't. It's held behind lasers, silly. Now go on, it'll be funny as fuck." Outside, E-Rob and Annie turn up to the science lab and say, "Yo, I want to talk to Christoph about his dinosaurs and shit." Subtle, E-Rob. Very subtle. Meanwhile, "Hey, Mr. T-Rex, your arms are small, impractical, and make you look rather foolish." "You fucking what, mate?" "Okay, Christoph, can I come out now?" "Oh no, my hand has slipped and accidentally turned off the lasers. What a goof." "Oh no, it's eaten him. What a shame I won't have to look at his stupid suspenders anymore." "Oh, that's a big angry dog." "Oh, okay then. Bye." "Wait, don't you want to see Christoph?" "Yeah, I do." "Then why are you leaving?" "I don't know, but I can't stop." Back in the hospital, Annie plays a recording of a big angry dog to E-Rob's daughter, and we get a repeat of the scene where she was attacked, but a bit shorter and about as overwhelmingly red and black as you can get. Then she does a good impression of me watching the last Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Not really though. I quite enjoyed it. After my lobotomy. Then we get the best line of dialogue in the movie.
"Oh God, Daddy, it was awful. It was some kind of lizard or something and it got Tommy and then it started to come after me."
And the Oscar goes to...
Absolutely anyone but her.
Look, I am not crazy.
Whoa, settle down, bitch. I didn't say you were crazy. I said delusional with a hint of psychosis. Then E-Rob drops Annie off at her house, and she gives him a wee smooch because she likes his face and says,
"Not bad for an old guy."
"Old guy? She'll never know how much that hurt my feelings." Meanwhile, the sheriff gets a call saying there's a dinosaur knocking about in the town centre, and he's all like, "This better not be them bloody kids messing around again. Oh, I better take me shotgun just in case." Then we get another scene lifted straight from Carnosaur 1 where he shoots the raptor but then foolishly stands next to it and it gores him with its big toe. The next day, E-Rob gets a call about the sheriff and heads to the morgue with Annie to see the body. She finds a big claw stuck in it and E-Rob says, "Right, I think we've got enough evidence. Let's go punch Christoph in the dick." Then we see this military fella on the phone to Christoph saying, "A little birdie tells me you've been making dinosaurs again." Have you? No. Really? No! Okay, but if I find out you have, then I won't invite you to my next barbecue. I really hope he doesn't find out then. I really like his sausage. Aye, you can't beat a bit of sausage if you've got no hands. Rob and Annie then turn up with a search warrant and say, "Hello, Christoph. I hear you're a bit of a dickhead."
A bit. Well, I did some checking before we came up here, and according to the internet...
You've been mecking dinosaurs. Damn internet. I knew I shouldn't have told that bastard about me dinosaurs. Well, you've caught me. Follow me and I'll show you to all the bad shit I've been doing. So they get into an elevator and on the way down...
What is that?
Oh, that was just me breaking wind. Once they're downstairs, Christoph and his men hold them at gunpoint and take them to a room where they'll be held captive.
Inside you go.
Oh, and Jamie, stop pointing that gun at the back of me head, you fucking cretin. Sorry, boss. Annie is all like, now what do we do? Don't you worry. I'll have us out of here in no time. Watch this. Okay, I'm out of ideas. Then we see the military fella again and he says to the general, "I've got some bad news and I've got some really bad news." Okay, what's the bad news? Christoph has been mecking dinosaurs again. Oh, what a shit. He told me he was done with that. Don't worry, I'll send in a team to sort it out. And the really bad news? Sarah on the front desk keeps telling folk I look like the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt. Hey, don't laugh. You're supposed to be on my side. I'm not laughing. My moustache is tickling me lip. Hey up, here come the Carnosaur 3 teams. Looks like it's not just the first movie they're going to lift scenes from.
Alpha 1 posted up 29, trip to just arrived.
Negative on that one, please repeat, but in a language humans can understand. They get on board a helicopter and then this inquisitive chap says,
"What exactly are we looking for, sir?" "That's classified, soldier, but you'll know him when you see him."
Well, that's a bit counterintuitive, isn't it? At least tell us, is it
Animal, vegetable, mineral?
Well, it isn't going to be a bloody vegetable or mineral, is it, you wind-up twat? A short time later, the troops arrive at the facility and head inside.
Alpha 1 posted Delta 29.
We're good to go, over.
Delta 29, I am 4 foot 3 inches tall. Over. Then we see this lady from the power company or something who says to her colleague, "Hey Ted, turn off the power to that science facility, will you? That baddie Christoph hasn't paid his electricity bill this month."
I like to push the switch.
Fortunately for Rob and Annie, this also opens the door so they can escape. And Christoph's like, "Oh, why's the power gone out? Oh shit, I forgot to pay the lecky bill again, didn't I? Oh no, now me dinosaurs are gonna get out! Oh!" And get out they do, both his extra raptors and the T-Rex. The troops encounter the raptors and hold them off with gunfire until they retreat.
Are those what I think they are?
I don't want to think what I think those are.
But if you don't think what you think those are, then how the hell are you going to think what I think they are? Rob and Annie make it back to the elevator and she says, "Which floor do we need to go to?"
Up, 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 up.
No, I said what floor? Not do your best impression of Popeye. Back to corporal gibberish and he says,
Down there where I showed you where that support beam is.
"Sir, you are mumbling something rotten. I can't understand a single bloody word you're saying. Enunciate!" Elsewhere, Christoph's assistant realises everything's gone to shit and tries to leave. But a raptor attacks her in an elevator, and her death scene is just that bit from Carnosaur 2 where it kills Noc Vasquez. Then we get another bit from that movie where the helicopter pilot gets killed by a sneaky raptor on board. But this time, they've really badly superimposed leather jacket below the helicopter when it crashes. Ah, it looks terrible. Back inside, and multiple troops are eaten by the raptors and T-Rex, with the actors really obviously changing to the ones in Carnosaur 3 when killed. I tell you, if you'd never seen the Carnosaur movies before and you started watching this, you'd feel like you were losing your bloody mind. Just like me. Ow. Then this random helicopter lands and these fellas in orange jumpsuits run inside, but Christoph awkwardly knocks one of them out and takes his clothes. Then in the next scene, everyone runs out of the building, including the guys in orange. So what the hell did they go in for? Then we see the T-Rex has broken out of the building and everyone watches as it eats Christoph. And oh my god, they added all those guys in orange just so they could use that bit from Carnosaur 2. Oh, the lengths they went to make this movie even somewhat work. Oh, but it gets better, because now Rob has to fight the T-Rex with the forklift truck thingy. And I kid you not, the vehicle completely changes halfway through the fight, from the white one with the curved forks used in Carnosaur 1, to the yellow one with the straight forks in Carnosaur 2. They clearly didn't give a shit by this point. It's glorious. Anyway, Rob gives us the same line as the kid did in Carnosaur 2, only delivered a bit better.
Eat this, Barney.
You purple prick. Then he pushes the T-Rex into the elevator shaft to its doom. Then the facility explodes because it feels like it. So the day is saved, Rob and Annie get together and disown his daughter because of her fake awful boobs. But then we get a weird little tease where we see another facility which has made a clone of Christoph and his assistant for some insane reason. But we'll never get a sequel to this because they already used all the good bits from the Carnosaur trilogy. Well, I say good bits, but you know what I mean. End of movie. Well, considering they just took loads of bits from the Carnosaur movies and mashed them together with some new drama, I still enjoyed watching this for the most part. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a terrible movie, but if you're familiar with the Carnosaur trilogy, there's still some fun to be had. It's kind of like a greatest hits album, only if none of the songs on it were ever a hit. The Eden Formula is a 2006 creature feature directed by John Carl Buechler. A team of mercenaries trying to steal a secret formula capable of bringing extinct creatures back to life accidentally release a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which goes on a rampage through Los Angeles. So the movie begins with a truck rocking up to the delivery bay of some big building. Then this fella gets out who looks a bit like Christopher Eccleston, so let's call him Eccles Cake. Who is it? It's the delivery man. I'm here to deliver your latest delivery.
Kinda late for deliveries, isn't it?
No, it's delivery o'clock. Now suck my Glock.
No, you don't.
Oh, for God's sake, who turned off Tony Todd's mic? We hired one of the most recognisable voices in movies and you can't even hear the bastard. Then a voice comes through on the dead guard's radio asking what's going on.
I just dropped my clipboard on the button, sir. I'm sorry.
Oh, you butterfingered bellend. You're always doing that. And also, why do you sound like Tony Todd doing a funny voice?
I'm sorry.
Whatever. Just come back inside, will you? You're letting a draft in. Higher up in the building, we're introduced to Jeff Fahey and Dee Wallace's characters, who I'm going to call Jeff and Dee for the sake of simplicity. Also, I think this is the first time I've seen Jeff Fahey without a beard, and I don't like it. He better have grown a beard by the next time we see him, or I swear I'll probably do nothing. Anyway, they work for this company who have developed the titular Eden Formula, which can bring extinct species back to life. Case in point, a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which they're keeping in the basement with Peter Griffin looking after it. So, I can't see this ending well. Peter goes to feed it and says,
Sorry, only one cow tonight. Which reminds me.
I need to order more cows from the internet cow shop. Then he starts wolfing down a sandwich because he's borderline malnourished. Then we see this cop who gets a call from dispatch telling her to check out the big building because the silent alarm was triggered earlier. Yeah, no worries, I'll head over there now. Oh, and stop smoking at work. I can smell it down the phone. How there? Back to the baddies who have been securing the premises, and these fellas walk up to Tony and say, Sir, Carl and I have cleared the ground floor. That means we killed folk, eh?
Very good, Carl.
So, once we crack the safe and steal the Eden Formula, are you sure we can synthesize more of it?
After 15 years in biogenetics, I think I should know what I'm doing.
Hey, I want none of that cheek, Specs. Don't call me Specs. No, I was asking for the specs of the safe. Specs.
Rebecca, status report.
All telephone lines, cables, and alarms have been cut.
Excellent.
Not a problem.
Is it just me, or does everything she says sound really seductive? Anyway, she's trying to open the safe via the computer, and then this fella says,
But no one can access them without the codes.
Oh, yes, I can.
You go, girl.
Whew, oh boy, is it hot in here. I would stand up to open the window, but, I've broken me legs. Well done, lad. They didn't suspect a thing. Here, have some dopamine as a treat. So she unlocks the safe, but because all the systems are connected, every other lock in the building opens too, including the T-Rex cage, which shocks Peter so much that he drops his sandwich, and the 5-second rule doesn't even apply because it landed in some cow's blood. And it looks like Eccles Cake lost a bet that Sexy Voice couldn't open the safe.
Gimme.
Bitch.
You know it.
So that's where I've been going wrong. Oh, I've got to go and try this for myself. Don't you go anywhere, I'll be back in a minute.
A few minutes later.
This movie is full of lies. It lied to me. Back to Jeff and Dee, and they're so bored that they've whipped out the wacky backy. And Dee's all like, Dude, how did I not know that bran flakes tasted this good? But then Jeff gets a sudden bout of paranoia.
How long has that light been flashing?
Oh my god, the T-Rex has got out, and there's baddies in the building! Oh, I bet they're trying to rob the formula. Oh, this is going to send us on a whitey. I need to lie down. There's no time for that, Dee. We need to hide the formula. But where? Aha! The last place they'd ever look. Dude, I am not shoving it up your ass. Then we see some security guards who have noticed the phone lines are down, so they go and investigate.
He's been shot.
Now I've been shot!
No shit, Sherlock. Damn.
I got blood all over it. It's ruined! Then they bring out this lady who is an activist who's been heavily critical of the company which made the formula. I'm going to call her Sammy Shot Shoulder, because she gets shot in the shoulder. So once the baddies have the formula, they plan on blowing up the building with a big bomb, and she'll take the blame.
You son of a bitch.
Beg your pardon?
I said, your son is a bitch. Yeah, that's what you get for insulting my son, which I don't have. Meanwhile, that cop from earlier shows up and says,
Is everything okay here?
Yes, officer. Everything is fine. Oh, okay then. Bye. Baddies 1, cops 0. Then we finally get some footage from Carnosaur 1, where the T-Rex breaks through the wall to escape. And despite being a massive lumbering beast, it somehow manages to sneak up on this cleaner and bites his head off. Mostly using footage from Carnosaur 2, of course. Then it goes for a wander and Jesus, catapult accident Christ, just look at this thing! Oh, this movie was made 13 years after Jurassic Park. Elsewhere, the baddies gain access to where the formula should be, only to find it's been moved, which annoys Tony so much that he does this. Oh, you've gone too far this time, Tony. I've loved you in every movie I've seen you in, but snapping that pencil is a step too far even for me. I demand a written apology. And don't forget to sign it. To comic. Lots of love from Tony. Back to Jeff and Dee, who bump into the last remaining security guard, who looks a bit like John Goodman, but not as good, so let's call him John Averageman. So they start heading to the way out, and then... Freeze! Now put your hands up.
But you told me to freeze.
Well, well, well. What do we have here?
3 people walking down the stairs? Obviously. Yeah, but what are you doing here? Walking down the stairs? Oh, got any other questions? Actually, yeah. Do you have the time? Sure, I've got the time right here! That wasn't the time! That was a kick me down the stairs to my death! Oh! Elsewhere, the T-Rex has been wandering the streets of Los Angeles for a while now and no one's even noticed. Then it hears a radio playing at a nearby gas station and it loves a good tune, so it goes for a goosey. Then this mechanic hears the radio turn off and goes to investigate, saying,
Damn kids!
They turned off my radio and placed it on the ground again! This mild inconvenience is unacceptable! Then because no one can see this T-Rex until it makes a noise, it gets the drop on him, and then gives him the chomp. Meanwhile, Jeff, Dee and John make it downstairs and find Sammy Shot Shoulder, with Dee saying,
What'd they shoot you?
What did they... The bullet hole in my shoulder might be a bit of a giveaway, don't you think? So she tells them about the bomb and Jeff says,
Who's got the detonator?
Your little friend does.
I'll have you know my penis is capable of no such thing. They wouldn't even be able to hold it. It's not like it's an elephant's trunk. But then one of the baddies finds them and we get somewhat of a strange shootout where everyone just wastes their ammo shooting walls. Hey Jeff, when would be a good time?
Now would be a good time!
Elsewhere, that cop is on the phone and says,
No, Mom. We'll get the cake on Sunday.
No, it's my birthday and I want it on Saturday. And don't you be late.
Don't worry. I'll be on time.
And I don't want to hear any excuses like, oh, I got eaten by a T-Rex or some crap like that. Back to the building and an alarm starts blaring with Sammy saying,
What the hell is that noise?
It sounds like the food buzzer!
Why does your food buzzer sound like the building's going to explode? Then suddenly the T-Rex breaks its way back into the building and this numpty decides to stand still and shoot at it. This goes about as well as you'd expect, but then his mate Carl goes and does the exact same thing. Look, boss, I'm shooting at it.
Very good, Carl.
That strategy clearly isn't working, people. Try something else. But then I kid you not, another baddie does the same damn thing. What are they thinking? You lot have the survival instincts of a hot dog! Anyway, the goodie's trying to escape, but Tony gives Sammy a throwing knife to the head, which is probably for the best, to be honest. Jeff and John Averageman get subdued by the baddies, while Dee and the cop run outside, but get followed by the T-Rex. Dee gets in the car, and then...
You know, as I lie here, I can't help but comment.
I'm going to do the exact same thing which got the last 3 people killed. Oh, except it'll be different this time. Oh, I know it'll be different this time.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Hello? Hey, Mum? You'll never guess what's happened. Anyway, Dee drives off in the cop car sobbing before she radios the police dispatch and says,
There's been a break-in, and people have been killed, and there's a giant T-Rex loose in the city.
Oh, you were doing well until you mentioned the dinosaur. Now he's not going to believe you, is he? Because you sound insane.
Placing a prank call to the 911 service line is a misdemeanor.
The 911 service line? No, it's 911. Nobody calls it 911, do they? Especially since this was made after 9/11. Back to the baddies and Tony is interrogating Jeff to find out where he hid the formula.
I want the formula.
What formula's that?
Oh, that formula. I gave that to your sister. Oh, my mistake. Now replace sister with mother and formula with trouser trout. I got you, didn't I? Yeah, I'll admit it. That was a good one. Elsewhere, Dee tries her luck with the police dispatch again, but this time tries her best not to sound mental.
I'd like to report a break-in at Calgorn Industries.
To your knowledge, has anything been taken from the premises?
Well,
don't you say it!
Something's escaped, actually.
Don't you say it!
There's a giant, man-eating dinosaur that is loose in this city.
So her call ends the same way it did the first time. Then she pulls over to steal some hi-fis from the back of a truck because she's already stolen a cop car, so why stop there? Then we see the security guard at a construction site. He looks out the window to find a T-Rex walking around outside. So he does what anyone would do in that situation. He grabs a shotgun, goes outside and walks slowly towards it. And can you guess what happens? Of course you can, because it's already happened 4 goddamn time! Bet it ain't done snacking on the residents of LA just yet, as this limo driver rocks up to a club and says,
Here we are. Shall I leave the car here?
Before the T-Rex shows up and eats the bouncer, which scares the limo driver so much that he somehow manages to fly the car into a car.
Shall I leave the car here?
Back to Jeff, and he manages to free himself from his binds because Tony foolishly left a knife in his hand. So he and John escape to go and retrieve the formula before they book it like an automatic fuck it. But when they get to it, plot twist for the muckers, John is actually working for the baddies, and he pulls a gun on Jeff. Personally, I would have waited until his back was turned, but I'm no close combat expert. Unlike Jeff! So Jeff decides to burn the formula and all the data on it so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. The baddies soon find it and they're not very happy.
Is it? Gone. Burned up. Ruined.
Parker.
Not sure why you'd blame Spider-Man for this, but hell, it's your show, Tony. You blame whoever you like, fella. Then Jeff gets the drop on them, before he swiftly gets knocked out by John. I guess John must have been wearing his melee-resistant face today. Beanie Hat McTwat is surprised to find that John's on their side, and says, well, call me Yep and punch me in the face.
Yep.
So the baddies have tied up Jeff again, and Tony's thinking about what to do next. But Beanie Hat McTwat wants to just blow up the building and leave.
Don't you know that this is over? Oh, and then there's the little issue regarding a fucking dinosaur!
Tony ain't putting up with this insubordination though, so him and McTwat have a wee scuffle, which Tony obviously wins because he's twice his size. He does let him live though, so I guess he can just go home and put this all behind him, right? Nah, instead the absolute nitro cabbage decides to steal a car and speed off like a maniac, crash into another car, drive down the wrong side of the street before seeing the T-Rex, panicking and driving himself off the road into something explosive. Ah, that's some Darwin Award level dumbassery right there. The next morning, and Tony has decided to kidnap Jeff so they can force him to recreate the formula somewhere else. Then this delivery driver turns up and has himself a loud delivery man boogie. But the T-Rex shows up because it loves a good boogie. Thankfully, it's distracted by even louder music coming from a trail of hi-fis that Dee has set up lined with dynamite, which she got from the dynamite shop, I guess? Then the beastie makes a beeline for the hi-fis and we get some of the greatest special effects shots I have ever seen. Oh my god! 3 years after this movie came out, Avatar came out! Just think about that, man! Oh, I tell you, those are some special effects right there. Tony then shoots the van driver and loads Jeff into the van, before telling the others to go and kill Dee so there aren't any witnesses. But surprise, the T-Rex ain't dead, and it apparently eats all 3 of them in a single bite off screen, because the special effects budget was clearly used up on the jumping Rex/explosion combo. Jeff then has a fight with Tony and ends up impaling him to a wall with his own throwing knife, saying, "Stick around." Then the T-Rex eats Tony, who was full of red paint all along. Jeff and Dee take off with Tony's detonator before hitting the button, and both the building and the T-Rex go kablamo.
Okay. Maybe a giant dinosaur wasn't a great idea. I was thinking maybe next time, a giant ape.
Seriously? Why don't we just move the experiment to New York and put it on display while we're at it? You're a dumbass. And you're fired. End of movie. Well, I don't think I can sugarcoat this one, folks. The Eden Formula is a terrible movie. It really does have some of the worst special effects I have ever seen, and it doesn't make a lick of sense. Tony Todd, Dee Wallace and Jeff Fahey clearly did the best with what they had to work with, but just about everything else is just hilariously bad. This is definitely one worth watching with your mates after a few drinks. Good lord.
They're all a bunch of sick bastards! Bastards!
Bastards! Oh god, that one hurt me neck. Oh! Urgh. Fucking give myself neck cramp from doing bastards! Oh god! That's oh man, that's something I did not expect I'd be saying today. Give myself neck cramp from saying bastards!